hidden emotions people are desperately trying to cover up. They pick up on these psychological patterns that literally fly completely under the radar for everyone else. Now, society usually calls this sharp intuition, right? We praise it. We call it this massive gift of emotional intelligence. But what this explainer is actually going to reveal is that this ability, it's a harsh psychological burden, because constantly seeing through everything around you comes with a remarkably heavy price. Seriously, think about it for a second. If you're someone who actually possesses this trait, does your ability to see through social masks leave you feeling kind of isolated? Like, do you feel emotionally exhausted just trying to navigate basic everyday conversations? Because the thing is, highly perceptive people can't just flip a switch. They can't turn off their minds, act naive, and just coast through normal social relationships. Constantly noticing fake behavior pushes them into deep doubt and exhaustion. And it's not because they're unstable, it's because they're carrying the weight of truths that literally no one else around them understands. To really get this, we gotta look at the neuroscience. It's a concept called thin slicing. Basically, highly perceptive brains are essentially 24/7 data collection machines. They are constantly running high-speed subconscious data processing, just scanning the environment for behavioral errors. They're looking at the verbal channel, the actual words being spoken, and comparing it to the non-verbal channel, like body language and tone of voice. And the second those two channels don't match up, their brain instantly flags an incongruence. A theater analogy is absolutely perfect for capturing how different brains process the exact same movie. Imagine a normal brain watching a play. They look right at the stage, and they just believe everything the actors are saying. Simple as that. But a highly perceptive brain, their subconscious automatically looks behind the stage. They're watching the velvet curtain. They're noticing the broken props, the prompter feeding lines, the actor's nervous sweat. They automatically look right behind the performance to find the underlying truth. A massive piece of this puzzle comes down to what Dr. Paul Ekman calls microexpressions. These are tiny, lightning-fast facial movements that flash by in just 1/15th to 1/25th of a second. They completely reveal the real emotion a person is trying to hide. Now, for a perceptive person, catching this isn't some long, drawn-out analytical process. It is completely unconscious and instant. It's exactly like tasting a bowl of soup and instantly knowing, oh, that's way too salty. You don't need to overthink it. Your senses just report the truth. But see, seeing the lie isn't the scary part. It's seeing the insecurity and the fear behind the lie. And that brings us to the very real dangers of having this ability.
So let's look at the first major psychological hazard here. Trap 1. The accidental villain. To really understand this trap, we actually have to go back to the Cassandra archetype from Greek mythology. So Apollo gives Cassandra this incredible gift of seeing the truth and knowing the future, but then curses her so that literally no one will ever believe her warnings. People just wrote her off as crazy or overly negative. Highly perceptive people, they are the modern-day Cassandras of social relationships. Human society relies so heavily on polite lies and masks just to keep the peace, and perceptive people are the ones who refuse to wear the sunglasses. Instead, they're shining a giant spotlight right into the dark corners everyone else has silently agreed to ignore.
This whole divide becomes incredibly obvious on dating apps. A normal person looks at a polished profile or sits across from someone on a first date, and they just see the tip of the iceberg, right? Polished charm, luxury trips, the perfect partner. They're swept off their feet. But give it 15 minutes, and the perceptive person has already scanned the underlying psychological structure. They see the rapid eye movements, constantly checking for reactions. They see the loud confidence as overcompensation. They see rushed enthusiasm as hidden manipulation. But because there's no hard proof yet, when they try to warn their friends, they're just told they're being paranoid or way too picky.
And it gets even messier in the workplace. Let's say a perceptive person refuses to play along with a manipulative coworker who loves playing the victim. Instantly, the entire mood changes, and that coworker will turn on them with intense hatred. Why does this happen? Psychoanalysis explains it perfectly through projection and ego defense. Exposing someone's hidden nature triggers intense shame in them. So to protect their collapsing ego, the exposed person's brain strikes back. They project their own issues and basically turn the perceptive person into the villain, slapping them with labels like cold, arrogant, or judgmental. Because of this, perceptive people quickly learn a pretty cruel rule. Their clarity makes other people uncomfortable, so they just choose silence.
And choosing that silence, well, that leads us directly into our next section. Trap 2, the detective trap.
Think about it. When you feel like you can't trust what others are saying, you start trusting only your own internal analysis, and that creates a really toxic loop. The highly perceptive mind begins to assume there is a hidden meaning in absolutely everything. They fall victim to confirmation bias, filtering every single action to prove their suspicions right. They literally live inside 10 different worst-case scenarios at once, using this extreme vigilance as a psychological armor just to ensure they never, ever get blindsided or hurt.
This quote right here really hits the nail on the head. A compliment is never just a compliment. It perfectly represents this tragic loss of innocence. For someone caught in the detective trap, a sweet word from a partner instantly feels like a setup for a future favor. Receiving a gift triggers the immediate thought, okay, what are they feeling guilty about? Even a 30-minute delay in a text message gets analyzed as this major sign of emotional distance. They win every mental game, and they never get fooled. But the cost is devastating. They entirely lose the ability to experience unconditional trust or just basic relaxation.
Think about the cost of that vigilance like this. It's like having hearing so incredibly sensitive that you can hear the microscopic cracks forming in a massive building before it collapses. Sure, it's an unbelievable survival mechanism. You are never going to get crushed. But the massive cost is that your hearing is so dialed in, you completely lose the ability to sit back and just enjoy the music. Every single sound gets analyzed as a potential threat. That heavy psychological armor ultimately blocks out all real, peaceful emotions.
Which brings us to the final, and honestly, maybe the most emotionally isolating trap of all. Trap 3, the emotional dumping ground.
There's this very specific, incredibly unique kind of loneliness we're talking about here, the burden of unspoken truths. It's not the loneliness of being physically alone in a room. No, it's the profound isolation of standing in a crowded room, watching a tragedy slowly unfold and knowing you can't say a single word. Imagine being at a close friend's wedding. Everyone is cheering, having a great time, but through a forced smile or just a fleeting glance, you completely see that the marriage is built on sand. You literally see the collapse at the exact moment of celebration, yet you just have to smile, raise a glass, and stay entirely silent.
This quote just perfectly captures that agonizing feeling. It's like knowing the Titanic is about to sink while standing in first class watching everyone dance. You can see the disaster looming right there, but you know with absolute certainty that if you scream out a warning, you'll just be in denial, you'll be called crazy, and accused of ruining the beautiful moment. Holding on to all of these truths slowly drains your life energy. Your mind just gets permanently stuck between deep empathy for the people being deceived and this bitter skepticism toward the fake masks of the world.
See, because perceptive people are so good at reading others, they intuitively understand everyone's needs way before a word is ever spoken. So they become these perfect, brilliant diplomats who can heal and comfort everyone around them. But the absolute tragedy here is the glass wall. In return, no one ever reads them. People just naturally assume, oh, they're too strong or too smart to need protection. They see right through everyone. But when others look back, they only ever see their own reflection.
So how do we actually fix this? Let's move into our solution phase, surviving the rare gift.
First off, you really need to understand that the goal here is absolutely not to see less. Telling a highly perceptive person to just think less is like asking someone with perfect 20/20 vision to pretend the world is blurry. It's literally impossible. Instead, the real goal is to build therapeutic cognitive boundaries using 3 actionable survival principles: strategic ignorance, accepting social masks, and forgiving the blind spots. Let's break down exactly how you apply these to your daily life.
So how do we actually put those principles into practice? First, you have to separate truth from personal responsibility. You might see a coworker being completely fake. That's the truth. But is it your responsibility to expose them? No, just let it pass like a cloud. Second, recognize why people wear masks. It's rarely to harm you, actually. It's usually just to hide their own deep wounds and fears. That loud, bragging guy is probably just terrified of not being loved. Seeing that allows you to replace your disgust with empathy. And third, you just have to accept a 20% risk of pain to enjoy 80% of joy today. You've got to stop trying to control the future. Yes, you can see the thorns on the rose, for sure, but you still have to allow yourself to smell the flower. When you do this, you evolve. You stop being this cold X-ray machine exposing every flaw, and you become a calm lighthouse, just quietly guiding your ship around the dangerous rocks.
This level of perception is a brutal, heavy gift, for sure, but it's also a beautiful one once you master those boundaries. So I'm going to leave you with this.